Good evening, friends. Meeting after a gap of 2 days with the Materia Medica session, and we're going to discuss. And in fact, it is a continuation of the last lecture of sulfur. We have studied the constitution of the sulfur along with the few cases of the sulfur which I have shared with you, and a typical constitution where there is indifference to the personal appearance, a dirty-looking personality generally having an aversion to bath, a person who generally are stoop-shouldered, which are having their faces very greasy, lean personalities, and who walk stooping. That was very typical. Standing is the worst position that we have learned on that day. Today we're going to learn further aspect of the sulfur, but before going into that, I want to share one case which was interesting in my practice. In fact, it was way back, a 40 years around stoop-shouldered personality entered in my clinic, and he knocked the door and he asked, "May I come in?" And then he asked, then he immediately he has done the namaskaram to all the members who were seated over there along with me. And then he started explaining about his problem. He explained that, "Doctor, I'm suffering a lot." But while explaining, he was little bit hesitating or giving his problem, telling his problem. He was little bit confused what to tell exactly. Then he explained it in different words, and he explained that he is suffering. Hello, are you not getting voice clearly? Just a minute. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
So he was little bit hesitating while explaining his complaints, and he explained that, "Doctor, since long time I'm suffering from the severe burning of my feet. The doctors diagnosed that it is a burning feet syndrome. That is the name given to my disorder. They have tried many medicines. In fact, they have checked everything. My blood sugar is normal. Everything is normal. But they have given me carbamazepine, they have given me B1, B6, B12 vitamin, they have given me antidepressants, they have given me the tranquilizers, but nothing is working. And I could not put my feet on the floor at night. It's so burning. I have to keep them under the water before sleeping. And what I used to do, I used to keep my feet outside my the covering, and it burns a lot. That is my problem. And what to do, I could not understand. I have taken even Ayurvedic treatment and it was not working, and so I lost the hopes generally. But someone suggested your name, so please, doctor, do anything. Please bring me out of this. And he was just like a praying to me for his problem, because he was not sleeping since last 5 6 years because of such a problem, grave problem. And diagnosis was very clear. It was stamped on him. That is the method of allopathic people, that they use the names to the disorder very nicely. And the name was given that it is a burning pit syndrome. So I asked all his modalities, and he explained this is a very specific modality. He used to burn a lot at night. That is the first important thing. He has to keep the feet outside the bed, outside the covering. Third thing, he has to keep it under cold water for some time. Then he feels better. Those were the very specific modalities. And then he explained one more, that those things which I have perceived, that he was stoop shouldered. The third Second important thing, as soon as he entered inside the room, he has prayed, he has given namaskar to each and every one who was sitting over there. Even my students were there. And that shows the reverence against everyone. And last thing, his main thing, he was confused while explaining his story. That was an embarrassment on the part of him. And last point which I have considered is his praying nature regarding treatment of his disease. So these are the rubrics which I have considered for the case. The reverence for those around, praying, beseeching, and embarrassment, elements from embarrassment. Then stoop shoulder was the one thing which I have considered. So ultimately, it is the sulfur which was coming out. I have given sulfur. It was a case way back in my practice. I have started him with sulfur few doses in low potency, 30 potency, and I asked him to meet me after a week. And after a week, when he entered, he said, "Doctor, I feel really first time after 5 years I got the sleep. My burning is nearly about 70 to 80%. It is better. I don't have to keep the feet under the water nowadays. But still, it little bit burning is there. Hot feeling is still persistent." So I asked him, let continue with the medicine. I have given just placebo for another week, and I asked him to meet me after another week. After another week, when he returned, he said that yes, it is still in the same thing, that he is feeling hot. He don't have to keep it water, but he has to keep the feet outside the covering, etc. So then I raised little bit potency. I have given him 200. And once I have given the 200 potency, it works so beautifully that thereafter his burning has completely stopped. So no more burning, nothing happened, and he recovered completely from it. So this is a remedy, with very important remedy in burning fish syndrome, where pathology is not there. The symptoms are more functional in nature. Then sulfur plays vital role. If it is pathological, then you have to think about the remedies which covers under the psychotic or syphilitic or tubercular or mixed miasmatic cases. Here the functional manifestations are there, and when functional manifestations are there, sulfur is a wonderful remedy to cover that situation. So that is one important case which I want to share with all of you, because it is the case which tells yes, sulfur is very specific for such types of burnings where the functional manifestations are present. So underline this word functional burning fit syndrome. It is not just because of diabetes burning fit syndrome is there. Then sulfur never plays. Then your remedy should have that depth which covers that diabetes also. So you have to think accordingly that what patient presents. That gives you a real idea of understanding. Tomorrow I will going to share one more case, which was where I will share the aspect of sulfur. I have treated him with sulfur, and I have learned a lot from that case. That why sulfur in low potency never worked with that case, and that was again in early in my practice, and that taught me that in certain cases how to think specifically regarding the potencies, even though the remedy is very perfect. So that I will going to share in tomorrow's session. Let us go ahead with the Alliance keynotes. We have completed the first part about it, the constitution. And now he starts explaining about the purpose of sulfur, where exactly the sulfur works. So what he says, when carefully selected remedies fail to produce a favorable effect, especially in acute diseases, underline this is very important. When carefully selected remedies fail to produce a favorable effect, especially in acute cases, it frequently serves to rouse the reactive powers of the system and clears up the case. So when things are acute enough, the sulfur is the remedy. If things are chronic and best selected remedy is not working, then it is soranum. See the difference between the depth of action of the sulfur and soranum. So sulfur is very important remedy when acutes are not recovering. At that time, sulfur plays a vital role. And if it is a chronic one which is not recovering, then the soranum is the noseword, has a little bit depth in their action, specifically at the level of chronic diseases. So the manifestations which are more functional in sulfur, more pathological in soranum. So this understanding should be there. We call sulfur soranum as a chili sulfur, but it is not just a sulfur. Soranum has more depth. Soranum not only covers the soric miasm, but soranum covers along with that the psychotic as well as syphilitic state. Both are there, and that's why it has more penetration than the sulfur. So we have to understand the remedy in such a manner. So when we read the sentences, we have to understand their core, their depth, what exactly he wants to explain over there, and which are already written over there, but we never pursue them. We read this sentence many times, but we never acknowledge them properly. And this is what he wants to explain. When best selected remedies fail to produce a favorable effect in acute diseases, sulfur is the remedy. When best favorable remedy never produces proper results in chronic diseases, then it is soranum. Scrofulous, chloric, chronic diseases that results from suppressed emotions. Here it goes into the depth. What is it? Because of suppressed emotions. The trauma is emotional, reflecting at the physical level and reflecting the inflammatory changes producing the scrofulous tendency. So there is affection of the glands with acute inflammatory changes, the psoric chronic diseases that result from suppressed emotions. So here, specifically the acute inflammation followed by a glandular affections over there, and the cause is the suppressed emotion. So something happened acutely and it gets suppressed, lead towards the inflammation, producing a glandular affections at the same time. It is typical of a symptom. So, for example, tonsils which get swollen acutely, followed by lymph nodes over there, or sometimes there might be some eruptions in the scalp, followed by occipital or cervical lymph nodes enlargement is there. That type of inflammatory changes, which are the results of because of suppressed emotion. So patient was in living a healthy life and there is something happened in the life, the emotions get suppressed, ultimately reflected is an acute inflammatory reaction in the form of boils, in the form of inflammation, in the form of streptococcal infection, staphylococcal infection, acute inflammatory change followed by a lymphatic involvement. That variety comes under the sulfur. So we have to understand the pathology and pathophysiology behind it. There are two remedies mentioned in the bracket. One is causticum and another is soranum. Yes, causticum is there, but causticum it has more depth. Causticum is there in elements from long-lasting grief. It is a very long-lasting grief, which is characteristic of causticum, and causticum is a psychosyphilitic remedy. So here the pathology is absolutely different. Causticum when gets affected, gradually gets produces a slower paralysis, slower change over there. It is a gradually appearing paralysis which you can get in causticum. It is a chronic degenerative changes which you will going to get in causticum. It is not acute inflammatory followed by the scrofulosis as in sulfur. Soranum, same thing. Soranum, emotions get suppressed, but it produces chronic disorder, not an acute like a sulfur. So you have to compare all those things while considering the remedy. It is not just understanding the sentence. Then what he says, complaints that are continually relapsing. Relapsing means reappearing. Menses, leukorrhea, given in bold. This is very, it has a meaning. The patient who comes to you again and again, again and again, again and again with the same feature, then think about this remedy. It is a very important remedy in such types of cases. So it might be menstrual troubles, it might be leukorrhea, it might be anything. For example, recurrent tonsillitis. Patient seems to get almost well when the disease returns again and again. What is it? Patient seems to get almost well. Patient comes to you, you have treated with acute remedy, and patient is absolutely good, and again he starts getting a problem. So you don't understand why this is happening. He is on the verge of cure, and at the same time he starts it again. Such a type of tendency is there that is clearly treated with the help of a dose of sulfur. Because these, is in last lecture, I have told my understanding about it. I have told you that this is because of the resolution process, which never happens after acute inflammation. to stimulate that resolution process. And once it has been completely covered, then recurrence starts. Sulfur stimulates that process. Sulfur plays a very vital role to stimulate that process. And that's what he wants to explain over there, that complaints that are continually relapsing and patient seems to get almost well when the disease returns again and again. Congestion to the single parts. So it acute inflammatory congestive stage, which you can see in specific organ. It might be anywhere. It might be in the eyes, it might be in the nose, it might be in the chest, it might be in the abdomen, ovaries, arms, legs, or any organ of the body, marking the onset of tumors and or malignant growths, especially at the climacteric. So see, this is one more thing which he is explaining over there, that the growths, tumors which are showing a congestive stage over there are very specifically mentioned by Hahnemann, are the products of this sulfur. Nowadays, we never get that suric tendency only. We get it mixed. We get such types of tumors, malignancy. Generally, it is a combination. It is mixed miasmatic traits which we are getting over there. So one must understand specifically the regarding it, that we get such types of tumors even in sulfur tendencies, but very occasionally at present era. Present miasmatic focus never remained to be a purely sorry. And that's why many a times sulfur fails in such types of cases where you have to take into consideration the depth of the remedy. And we have to take into consideration remedies which are more having the more depth at the psychotic or syphilitic miasm. So this congestion is definitely the sulfur plays very vital role, definitely. But whenever you think about the tumors specifically, malignant growths, especially at climacteric, you have to think of remedies which are more having more depth than the sulfur. If those growths are the result of just a congestion, then definitely sulfur plays very vital role. The next feature which he has mentioned is the key of the sulfur, and which is present everywhere. So these patients, you can just check it with your with the by asking one question: is there any burning, and how do you feel better? That is one important keynote with which you can confirm the sulfur many a time. And what it gives regarding the sensation of burning, and where this burning gets, it is on the vertex and smarting in eyes. So burning in the eyes, it is stinging pains or smarting pains. Burning in the face, sensation of burning in face without redness. Sensation of burning of vesicles in the mouth. Then sensation of burning and dryness of the throat, first right and then left, like lycopodium. But in lycopodium, it is inflammatory change which comes from right side to goes to the left side, or it is diphtheriatic membrane affection which is there in lycopodium, which starts on right side, goes to the left side. Tonsillitis starts on right side, goes to the left side. Here, the burning sensation specifically goes from right to left. Sensation of burning in stomach, in the rectum, in the anus, and itching piles and scalding urine. See, these are very specific features. Patient complains of recurrent burning micturition again and again, again and again. One must give is one dose of sulfur in between. Whatever may be the patient's remedy, it might be cantharis, it might be sarsaparilla, it might be anything. In between, if you give the dose of sulfur, it stops the tendency towards that. And second important thing, that the hemorrhoids are there and which are itching a lot. It might be because of worm infestation. Sulfur plays very vital role. One dose of sulfur is sufficient to relieve that itching, irritation over there. Sensation of burning, like a fire in ripples, like arsenic. Sensation of burning in chest, rising to the face. Sensation of burning of skin of whole body with hot flushes. That hot flushes is very important thing, which patient details you again and again. Many patients talk to you, doctor, I am having heat in my body. This is one sentence which they use. In Marathi, the doctor माझं शरीर खूप उष्ण आहे. They talk, my body is very hot. Even others feels my body is hot. Then they feel that there are hot flushes which are coming in my body. Then they tells you, just check my hand, it is too hot. These are very specific entities which patient tells you again and again in common sense, common sentences. Many times they explain that my body is very hot and I'm having severe burning in my feet. More confirmatory about the sulfur remedy. So these are the things which you can catch very easily in these patients. Sensation of burning in spots between the scapula. And patient details you exactly the spot in the on the posterior side or dorsal side where in between the scapulae they get the burning. Another remedy which is mentioned over there is the phosphorus. What is the difference? Difference is that sulfur feels better by applying cold to it. Phosphorus feels better by applying heat to it. So this is one thing which you have to understand, that sulfur is a hot remedy better by cold. Phosphorus is externally hot internally. Externally chilly, internally hot. Where phosphorus feels better by cold application, hot application externally, but internal burning is there. He requires ice cream to eat. But he feels better internally by cold, and that is phosphorus modality. So you can easily differentiate these two remedies over there. There was one question asked by Amit that what could be the potency, sir, for itching in rectum? Sulfur 30 is better potency. But don't repeat too much. Sulfur 30 or many times if you are giving it in children specifically, 6 is better potency. But few doses of sulfur 6 or sulfur 30 which are sufficient in those cases. So see, this sensation of burning is the characteristic of the sulfur, which you have to understand. Then sick headache. Sick headache every week or every 2 weeks. What is sick headache? Sick headache is as good as the recurrent headache, a migrainal headache, which is there, and patient complains of they are having again and again the severe headache. It is frustrating and weakening. That is more important. And they get frustrated, they feel exhausted, they feel weakened due to the headache because it is happening every week, like a sanguinary. But in sanguinary, it is very specifically settled over right eye. It either starts from the right eye, goes backward, or starts on the back side, then goes to the vertex and settles over right eye. That is sanguinary. Sanguinaria specifically happens to be there at climacteric period. Sanguinaria is associated with congestive type of headache. It is called as blood root, which is there. And that bloody appearance is very typical sanguine temperament which you can get over there. And it is a headache which shows typical migraine headache and with lot of congestion. In sulfur, it is generally a dull type of headache, which is persistent and appearing again and again. So that's why it is called a sick headache. It produces a feeling of a sickness in the patient continuously. There is one more remedy where you get one word, that is American sick headache, which is the remedy which you know. American sick headache. Anyone? It is
Lac
the
disfloratums. Lac disfloratum.
leg caninum, more commonly than leg deploratum. American sick headache. It is leg caninum. What is the difference between leg can and leg defloratum? Laccan is the remedy where it starts on posteriorly, goes anteriorly. But in the migraine headache, lag defloratum is the remedy where headache starts from front side and goes back side and associated with very obstinate constipation over there. That was very typical with the lag defloratum. So these are the things which you have to take into consideration when you compare the remedies over there. So sick headache every week or every 2 weeks, prostrating weakening like sanguinaria with hot vertex and cold feet. So this is odd that vertex is very hot and specifically the pits are cold, but they are burning. That is very important. The Rashi has asked, bleeding after scratching, sulfur can be given. Yes, bleeding scratches until it bleeds. One of the important feature, but burning followed by burning is very specific for the sulfur. Then there is one more question asked by her that burning of arsenic album and sulfur difference. It is so simple. There is nothing. Arsenic album is absolutely better by warmth. Burning evaporated by warmth is very specific for it. And sulfur and sulfur it is better by cold. So that is very simple thing with which you can catch that burning. So burning is characteristic of this. And second important thing, the sick headache, which it has been mentioned over there, that is every week or every 2 weeks. That is having periodicity, little bit periodicity over there in sulfur, which is characteristic over there. And a sanguinaria he has compared, but sanguinaria it is very specifically a right-sided. But what is the key? With the hot vertex and cold feet, that state he has mentioned over there. So sickle core has a different aspect, Madhu. Sickle core is a very chilly remedy and still better by cold. That is the difference. Sulfur is a hot remedy, better by cold. This is basic simple difference is there. Sickle is shriveled appearance. They don't have a strength over there. That is lost strength which you can get in sickle core. So chilly patient still body is cold to touch and still they feel better by cold. That is sickle core. But with the sulfur, it is not so. Sulfur is generally body is very hot and they are hot patient. So that how we can differentiate. So we'll stop over here. We'll continue with it. It will require 2 more lectures to learn the sulfur. Even 2 or 3 lectures required, it doesn't matter. Yes, definitely. Tomorrow class is there. Tomorrow both the sessions, the philosophy as well as mathematics, definitely there.
One question, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Females attain climatrix at the age of 50 or 55, something like this. Okay. So if they have this problem, the sulfur is given.
No.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay. The male in that age, 55, 60, if they have that problem, can we give this remedy?
It depends. Basically, sulfur is given on the indications of sulfur, not on just on the climacteric age. There are many remedies for the climacteric syndrome. In fact, if I will think basically first remedy to be in lachesis. Second important remedy is sanguinaria. But it is not like that. It depends what patient presents. This is too important that what are the patient's indications which indicate it that it is a sulfur. My suggestion is that don't go only on the one indication climacteric syndrome. That is not the only thing on which you can prescribe. That is one part of thinking. But along with that, all other things should come together so that you can define, yes, this is sulfur. So one should not make it fixed, climacteric and this remedy, not even lachesis also. But whenever you are getting lachesis and if patients is at climacteric age, it definitely goes for the lachesis. It's like that. So you better you think about the totality first, considering that instead of age of the patient.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So anything else? Any questions? Any queries? If there are, we can. Otherwise, we'll conclude. So we'll meet tomorrow with both lectures, the philosophy as well as the materia medica. My suggestion to all of you, don't miss philosophy. Once you understand the philosophy, it will it will very useful in your practice. So thank you being there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night.